morning. My name is Rosalie Fairley. We started the divorce series a month ago, actually. We said we had crowned it somewhere last week, but then we realized that there's a need for us to bring it back. Why do we say this? There's a popular saying that says that men only receive their first flowers at their funerals. Men want to be heard, they want to be seen as well, but we hardly do this. We don't take men's mental health into perspective as much as we take women's mental health into perspective. And so today we have decided to bring this conversation back to your doorstep, and especially for the men. We had women come in to speak about their stories, their divorce journeys, but we never had a man. But today the story is different. We have Mr. Daniel Appiah, who is a motivational speaker as well. He's an author, and he will tell us his journey, how he's been able to overcome the downside of divorce and how he's been able to get to where he is today. Good morning, Mr. Appiah.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Doing great.
Great, and it's good to have you here.
Good to have you here too.
Okay, so we want you at home to actually join the conversation because we want to get as interactive as possible. So do send in your messages as well. We'll definitely love to read it. Now, Mr. Appiah has books that he's written on these things, and I remember meeting somebody and the person said the most difficult part is how to overcome it. The journey of getting lawyers and all of that is not easy. We understand it's financial, but the psychological aspect, the depressive aspect is so difficult. And so today we are here for you, and we will overcome it today, hopefully. Now, everybody will want to know, as a man, you've gone through divorce, but we, how society perceives it is that as a man who don't treat the woman well and end up, leaving the woman or going to find another woman and comparing that and saying that, you know what, I married you, but I made a mistake. I found somebody else. I found a new family. I've moved on. I can't deal with your nagging anymore. But your story is different. Share your story with us.
Right. So thank you so much for having me once again. Good morning to all your listeners, and then to all dreamers locally and then abroad. Well, so I got married in 2010, and like they always say, you need to marry your friend, marry someone you know. So yes, I married my friend. Mm-hmm. From childhood, we were in the same youth church together. That was in 2010, we got married. And I was married for 6 years before the marriage collapsed.
Oh, okay.
Well, it was nice. We went through all the ups and downs, just like any other marriage, right? Mm-hmm. Marriage, they say it's like a ship. It's a relationship, so it's like a ship. So you relate to people around you like how you relate to someone in a ship. So having a partner, having a spouse, having a wife, you go through all the challenges. Like I said, it's a ship. You go through turbulence, you go through the storm, things like that. So we also went through all those phases. And for me, I think the issue of compatibility, setting at a point. After 6 years, we couldn't handle the challenges again, so we had to call it quit. It was a very difficult one, but I needed to make that bold decision to save the family. I often hear people talk about, well, I want to stay because of the kids, I want to do this, but for me, I don't think that's the best. Because you also need your happiness. She needs her happiness, the kids also need some form of happiness. So what is this thing about staying in a toxic or staying in a relationship where you don't enjoy it, you are not comfortable, you are not experiencing what couples are supposed to experience, and you do that because of the kids? I mean, you rather be causing a lot of damage, right, to their emotions, staying in it, than moving on.
When you say you were not compatible, what exactly are you talking about?
Right, so you realize if in any relationship, any form of friendship, mentorship, internship, fellowship, all the ships, right, there's this thing about getting along. You can be friends with someone, you quarrel, you'll be upset, you vent, but you still come back on track and then you move on. So the moment you are not able to come back on that same track, you realize that your path will be going the opposite direction. That is where compatibility comes in.
But was it more of you two couldn't sit down and talk about your issues and iron it out? Was it an issue of egos coming to play? What was it exactly?
Right. So just like I explained, you be in a relationship, you have issues, you talk about it, and then you move on. So when you are having issues, you talk about it, and you are still not able to move on, then really there is no point. Really, there is no point. And for me, I think when you are in a relationship and there are issues and you talk about it, and both parties forget no, because I mean the mind will always play some of the things you may be able to forgive, but you cannot forget. And that is when the major issues set in, because every time you remember something, it will trigger, a part of you to vent, to moan, to fight, to quarrel, and things like that. So if you are in a relationship and you discuss, you talk about it, you sit down, you do all those things, and you are still not able to come back on track, then you need to move on.
So you called for an end to the marriage?
Yes, I did.
Did it affect you in any way when you were calling for an end, or because you called for it, you had an upper hand?
Right. I would say in any relationship, toxic, whatever it is, if you are parting ways, you will definitely feel some level of pain. Anyone that tells you, I left, I didn't feel it, I wasn't hurt, no, they will be lying to you. Every single person will go through some level of pain. But it depends on why you are leaving, the reasons why you think is the right time for you to leave. So I would say the pain, the hurt, the emotional tremor and all those things will come at different levels, right? So one can be 80 or 90% hurt, 50, 40 in that level. So yes, I was a bit hurt. I knew where I was going. I took that decision because of my future, and I didn't want to stay in it to kind of kill my dreams, my aspirations, and where I was going as a person. So yes, I was hurt.
What about the children? How did they take it? How many children do you have together?
So we had 3 strong boys.
3. Wow, that's great.
Yes.
How did they take it?
At the time, I would say it was a bit tough for them, because they would always see daddy in the evening, in the morning, and then now they will not see daddy in the evening. Occasionally, I'll pick them from school. They will come over for weekends, vacations. They could see the trend has changed. Well, I can see they were going through some level of, emotional pain. And the only thing you could do is just to keep assuring them that daddy is there for you, mommy is there for you. And at that point, I don't think you have to go into a lot of scientific explanation to them, because they wouldn't understand. So you just have to keep assuring them that, hey, anytime you need me, I'll be there for you, and things like that. Yeah, so they also went through some level of pain. Every party within that union will suffer.
So your wife then, now your ex-wife, how did she take it? Because you initiated the process.
Right.
Some couples, when one initiates, the other will say, I don't want a divorce, and so I'm not signing the papers. How was yours like?
Yes, I mean, just like you said, it was pretty much the same. For me, I think it came to her as a shock, because for me, I've always been an advocate of close union. I never ever planned to, have divorce on my CV, but so I kept telling her, look, I'm not a candidate for divorce. I really want this thing to work. So when it got to that point when I made that decision, I think it was a big blow to her. I would say she also went through some level of, pain, hurt, and she had to take it.
Did you try to reconcile it, probably try and see if you could work out when you started the divorce proceedings?
Mm-hmm. Well, I did a couple of times. Some pastors came in, family members, and things like that. But you see, there's this thing I want to put out there, right? You don't work on a relationship when it is not working.
Okay. You don't work on it at all?
You don't work on a relationship.
Why?
When it's not. You work on your relationship when it is working. It's just like a vehicle. You need to go for regular maintenance and servicing. If you skip it and the vehicle starts developing issues, it will be issue after issue, issue after issue. So I always tell couples, look, when the relationship is nice, when you are in your high, that is when you need to work on it. Sit down and talk about improvements, servicing, maintenance. Where can I improve? What should I do? And things like that. The moment it starts developing issues, when pastors come in, family members, friends, it means it's more like washing your white linen
in public.
In public. Everybody knows your issue. And you know how communication goes. By the time it gets to the fourth person, the main issue had been distorted. Everybody is talking about this and that. Friends who don't even have the necessary and relevant experience will be advising you. Some will mislead you and things like that. So you only work your relationship when it is working.
Right. Now let's come to your life experiences, which has led you to become a motivational speaker. Now you counsel a lot of couples out there. What are some of the factors that actually lead to divorce, the prevailing ones especially?
Well, so many factors, but I can limit it to say about 4 or 5. The first one, from a biblical perspective, if Ephesians 5:22 breaks down. That's the first point. And the second one is if Ephesians 5:25 also breaks down.
So what is in Ephesians 5:22?
Right, briefly, 5:22 talks about wives submit to your husbands.
Okay.
And then the 25 also says husbands love your wives.
Okay.
It's simple. 3 sentences. Wives submit to your husbands. And I'm an engineer, right? So I read the Bible with an engineering eye, and then also with faith. Biblically, if you look at the 5:22, there is a reason why the 22 comes before the 25. So 22 is for the wives. Submit to your husbands. And then the husbands in 25 love your wives. So you realize that anytime there is a problem in a marriage, when you listen to both parties, the lady will say that he doesn't love me, he went to do this, he went to do that. And then the husband, oh, he doesn't respect me, she doesn't submit to me. So when that breaks down, it's going to cause problems in the relationship. Eventually, it might end up in a divorce. That is one. And then 2, when the couples open their doors for in-laws. When in-laws penetrate into your house, it will create problems. You hear couples talking about projects and things like that, and one party will come back, my mother says, my father says. The moment that thing happens, then the clouds are heavy. It's going to rain. Literally. And the third part, friends. When you put your marriage out there to a lot of friends, see, by nature, human beings are envious of anything that goes around them. You buy a car, your friends will come in, they are so happy, but someone will go, but when did she come? I don't even have that car, I don't even have that house. Friends will visit your home, they'll see all the things going on, how your husband treats you, how your wife takes care of you and all that. Some will envy you. they'll start giving you anti-advice, things against your spouse. A friend can just call you, hey, I met your husband here, as if it's a genuine, innocent comment, but they have an intention. So you need to watch out for friends.
Okay.
When you are going through issues in your marriage, biblically, the designer of marriages is our creator. Go to him. If you have a problem with your phone and you don't use the manual and you take it to Circle, they will mishandle it. You will start having issues. So you go to your creator and talk to God. If you can't talk to God and you think you can talk to a pastor, a friend, or someone for them to save your marriage, then you are joking. All these people are humans. So talk to the creator, unless God doesn't pick his phone.
Okay.
But if you go to Jeremiah, he says, call me and I will answer.
I will answer.
Yes.
And the fourth point is?
The fourth point, which is, I mean, the most interesting bit, I would say, is common sense. Common sense.
Yes. Okay.
See, if you go into a marriage and both parties, you think you are wise, the marriage will break down. At a point, one person has to be a fool so that the other will be wise. At a point, it will change. But you hear people, no, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. You will never get to do it in a particular way. It's just like project management.
Right. No.
So common sense, if you don't apply common sense, your marriage will break.
Now we'll break it down. Number 1, Ephesians chapter
5:22.
and Ephesians chapter
5:25.
Now let's break it down.
Right.
The woman is supposed to submit. When we talk about submission, what kind of submission are we talking about? Because this is very confusing for a lot of women out there. And it's also confusing for a lot of men out there. Now you meet a man, okay, the same man, when we live in Ghana or we live in Africa, the man is like, submit. We move from Ghana and the story changes.
Right.
You are living abroad and we are all working, we are all taking care of the children, the man is bathing the children, the man is sweeping, the man is cooking. You come to Ghana, this man's story changes and goes into the biblical terms and says submit. So what kind of submission are we talking about?
So when we talk about submission is not yes, massa, or yes, madam, or yes, madam. You know, submission, it's more of staying in line, in alignment to the family goals, right? If you go to any wedding ceremony, there's a reason why the man takes the vow first before the lady, unless it has changed.
It hasn't changed. It's still
unless the lady's preference is, let me take the vow first. So the man is the head. The head doesn't mean you have to be bossy and, hey, I'm the head, and no. See, you need to control affairs in the house. Make sure everything that is needed in the house is provided for, right? If you put these things into the lady's responsibility and things like that, you start having issues. Because a woman will think, I'm providing, I'm doing this. Even if the man, you are not working, there should be some efforts, right, to do that. I'm not saying this for people to know that a man should always be wealthier than the woman. We have marriages where the women are wealthy. They are dusted with cash, you know, but there should be some level of responsibility and control at home for the lady to also know that my husband is in charge. My husband is being proactive.
So it's
my
not
husband
about
is
the
doing
husband
this.
helping with house chores. That is not it. Right?
Not necessarily.
Right.
Not necessarily. Support the woman. You have your wife who is corporate, and you can drive her to work, pass by your workplace, pick. She gets that support. That support.
So then the submission is a little bit confusing for a lot of young people out there. So what is submission?
Right.
What do I do that my husband can now say, oh, my wife is submitting? Because some will say, oh, my wife went to work, came back at 5, or we all came home at 7, and she still didn't go to the kitchen to put food on the table for me. Meanwhile, she's cooked. The food is in the fridge. And the man will still say, you can help yourself. And man will say, no, because you didn't come and serve me, you haven't submitted. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or because when you came, you didn't stop the child from crying. Hey, the child is crying. Akosia, come and tell your child to keep quiet. You haven't submitted. And the woman will say, but you too, you can tell the child to keep quiet.
Right.
You haven't submitted. So what is submit? It's very dicey.
The men who don't know how to cook always find problem with my wife didn't cook for me and all those. For me, I cook a lot.
Okay.
I cook a lot. You know, before Eve was created from the ribs of Adam, Adam was eating. Adam was eating before Eve came. So if you're a man and you cannot provide for yourself, you cannot cook, you cannot take care of the home before the woman or the wife comes in, then you are also a problem. So submission, it's like I said, you have to be in alignment. You have to be in alignment. The head talks about, let's move in this direction. You are a helper. You contribute. Oh, we can do it this way. We can do it this way. We disagree, agree, and then we move on. But you find a lady, no. It is either my way or nothing.
Right.
That is not alignment. So once you align with what your husband is saying, and see, I always say that if you have a very smart woman, wife, there is always a way to get to your husband without him knowing. If you want it this way, you can start telling your husband that, look, I've seen 2 things being done this way. What do you think? You have gone ahead of him to provide alternatives. And being a smart woman, you want either of them. If it goes red, fine. If it goes white, fine. And you've provided those 2 options. So when they land on white, voila.
So that is the submission we talk about.
Yes.
Great.
Alignment.
Now let's talk about
25.
25.
Right.
When we say husbands love your wife, is it you spending money on them, splashing money on them, or what is the love, the definition of that love?
Love is not money. If love were to be money, I'm sure rich men will not divorce. Or people who married rich people will not divorce. And love is also not poverty. Because if love were to be poverty, I'm sure people who are very poor will also not be in love. So love is an innate feeling towards someone. TLC, the tender love and care. Love is sharing. Love is caring. If you love someone, you do everything for the person, not necessarily money. Because I've seen couples who don't have much love each other. And I've also seen those who also have much, they also love each other. And equally, I've seen both areas where love collapsed.
Right.
They had money, they were poor, they collapsed. So love is not about money, it's not about poverty, it's just about personal relationship.
The compassion you have towards the person. Right. Now we go to number 2, which is...
Number 2, I mentioned in-laws.
In-laws.
Yes.
Now, you said that don't allow in-laws into your home too much. What are you trying to say? Is it that we shouldn't allow them to visit at all? Or what is it?
Oh, it's not just about it goes beyond the visit. And I always use the wedding setting, right? You see the father will come and present the daughter as the bride to the groom. At that point, you accept the lady as your wife. Take her to your home. That's why the Bible says the man will leave his father and the mother and then join the wife, form a family. So the wife is also leaving the father and the mother to join to the husband, right? So at that point, you take full responsibility over the lady. Your decisions, your visions, where you are going in life, how you plan your family. So if you allow your in-laws to still come in to make some of these decisions, then it's bound to fail. Because the man has given the daughter to you. Take care of my daughter and then set up your own family. And this same person, either the man or the woman, coming back into the house to tell you, I want you guys to buy a certain property or drive a certain car or have this number of kids, or I want my wife to pursue this particular career. So it might not be in alignment with what your family has decided.
Right.
But each party would want to listen to their parents, unfortunately.
You have to stop at that time. But who do you listen to then?
Well, at that point, I mentioned you have to go to the manual.
Did you have similar experience with the in-law issue?
Yeah, I did. I mean, it's peculiar to every marriage. I've spoken to hundreds of couples, those struggling, those making it, and it is there. It is there. It is something that you can't escape. So I'm not limiting it to visiting. Visitors, but the intimate discussions. The discussions that will make the family or break the family, you don't expose that to in-laws.
Right.
If you allow your in-laws to come in, you will have issues.
Well, there's a message coming in. Good morning. My name is Amando from DJT. To me, I think submission on the part of woman is more of respect than anything else. If she respects the man, automatically everyone would be in line in the home. Okay, thank you so much. Abba Pia says, I see you, Blood. All right, Joe Mate Courage says, perfectly said. You can also send in your messages and definitely we'll read it. So we are discussing, the men's perspective of divorce. That's the most important thing, because we often hear the woman speak, but the men hardly speak. And of course, today, Mr. Appiah is here to tell us his story. And also, as he's now a motivational speaker, he's going to tell us what most couples go through and how they are able to overcome it, because he has been able to overcome his obstacles and he's where he is today. So we go to the third point. And the third point is?
I mentioned friends.
Friends. Now, everybody needs a friend. I need somebody to talk to. If I don't talk to that person, or if I don't talk to someone, it might eat me up, even mentally, psychologically. And if you don't take care, you start talking to yourself. You start, behaving how you're not supposed to behave. So you always need somebody to talk to. So why should we not have friends? Or why should we not talk to our friends?
So you have to be very selective in who you talk to. In my experience, I had a cousin. I was talking to that person, and in Ghana they will say Lenefebo, or Fantis will say Onodo Kwe. My own cousin stabbing me behind, right? So I would advise people, be very selective. Sometimes you wouldn't know, ignorantly you wouldn't know, fine. But it's also said that if you know someone who is always talking about others, remember that same person can talk to others about you. So sometimes you also have to know the kind of person you are talking to. If there's a person who always brings the fillers, hey, what's the way? Have you heard this? That kind of thing, be careful, even though that person is your friend. Because that same person will take your information out there. And I don't know why people always find joy in hearing people's marriages. The media will always be excited. Oh, this person is going through this. Oh, finally, social media is now flooded with celebrity marriages. And unless they don't hear something like that, hey, have you heard? It's the same way. Talking to a friend. In traffic, they want to catch up. They call a friend. Oh, have you heard? He was even talking to me. Oh, he's going through this innocently, but you don't know how the other person is also going to decode that message. So be very, very selective.
We've actually heard people say that if you're married, don't even have friends who are single. Is this advisable?
Well, it depends on what you say to them, what you do. You can have friends you relate to on a business front, right? For me, I think don't expose your marriage to anyone.
Okay.
Anyone. Go to the manual. God is 24/7 away. 24/7. Talk to him.
But sometimes you need response. You need somebody to tell you that
God can respond to you.
You know what I mean? It's like we talking. You speaking it out.
Right.
It's like there's a burden off you.
Right.
So you need that one person. Maybe you just have to be careful.
Right.
But you need that one person that will tell you that I think that what is happening, it's your fault. And so go apologize. Because sometimes we make the mistakes, we don't even realize that it's our fault. And so you don't know that you have to go and apologize. But there might be that one person that will tell you that, listen, it is your fault. Go apologize. So probably everybody needs that one.
So let me share an experience with you.
Sure.
So there's this soft voice that will always be speaking to you. People always say something is telling me. What is that thing telling you? So if you meditate on the word of God, well, I'm a student of theology, right? So sometimes I use a lot of biblical analogy and things like that. And I also speak to the other side of the world, right? So that's still voice that speaks to you. At dawn, read, not necessarily the Bible, read motivational books, listen to audio from people sharing their experiences like what we're doing now. I mean, read, watch videos and things like that. It will still be the same thing talking to you. Because you will sit here, you want a friend to tell you, oh, it's okay, you'll be fine, go and apologize. The same thing can also be obtained through audio. Okay. You can listen to an audio and a preacher man or a motivational speaker or even a lay person will tell you that, look, if you've offended somebody, master the courage and apologize to the person. Initially, it will be tough. But as you listen to your inner mind, go ahead. You don't necessarily need a friend to tell you this. A stranger can tell you that. A book can tell you that. You can listen to audio, watch movies, all these things. So you need to be in that motivational space. Whatever will kill you is the same thing that will heal you.
Okay, so some messages coming in. Mostly it's the in-laws from the man's side that intrudes much, especially mother of the man, the mother-in-laws, Abba Apia said again, you are doing well, blood. Okay, so, the mother-in-law issues are definitely very dicey. We've had so many feedbacks with mother-in-laws intruding and all of that. But it's difficult for a man to also stop his mother from intruding, right? Very difficult.
Yeah, I mentioned it, that it is very, very difficult for both parties. Both parties, the wife and then the husband, not to listen to their parents.
Right. Now, the last point is?
I mentioned common sense.
Common sense. So this time around, use your common sense to act. Now let's go to how to, the best practices when you're going through divorce. What are some of the best practices to go through?
Right. I would let me put it into two subsets, right? I'll talk about the internal bit, which is you, and then the external bit, which is the things that you can do. The first point is you need to come to that realization that, hey, you are finally divorced or you are going through divorce. If you don't accept that fact, you always have issues with yourself because you always be living in denial. So you have to come to that point, realize it, and then decide to move on. If you can go back, fine, go back. But if you cannot, move on. Because in life, if you don't move and you stay at one place, you either become fat or unproductive. Fat is relative. Fat, I mean, you gain weight, you gain all the pain, everything will happen to you. But if you move, whether in the right direction or in the wrong direction, there's still some movement. So along the way, you start getting guidelines and then guidance from whatever religion that you belong to, right? So I would say, first, realize the fact that this is your current situation. And don't allow the past to determine your future. Because there's nothing in the past. Interestingly enough, the only thing in the past is past questions. The only thing you can get in the past is past questions. And we don't need past questions now. So you need to always look at where you are going.
Right.
Because that is most important.
Right.
So realize it. Know that, hey, finally I'm divorced, I'm separated, this is my situation, and I'm going to change the narrative. Start looking for the light. And that's what I've written about, the light in the dark, in one of my books.
Right.
Start looking for the light. The light is somewhere. You will find it. It might be at a distance. So you work and you walk towards it.
Anyway, so we actually have a very first caller on the line, and you at home can also call if you have any contribution or questions. Please do call. But let me speak to my very first caller. Hello, good morning. Kindly lower the volume on your television set, please. All right. Please do call back. Kindly, when you call, please lower the volume on your television set so you don't get the feedback. Because when you listen to yourself, there'll be a delayed conversation. So try as much as possible to lower the volume. Call us and let's have a very good conversation. You can call us as well or send in your messages. We are streaming live on Facebook, so you can send your message to our Facebook line or to our WhatsApp line, and we will definitely read it. Now, the biggest thing that everybody is wondering is, after divorce, how do you pick up the broken pieces and put it together and move on?
Right. So I was just talking about realization of the fact that you are divorced. This is your situation, and then you move on. Because anytime you identify the problem, it is about 60% problem solved. So if you don't know that is the problem, then you will never find a solution. Okay. So once you realize it, you start moving on. You need to start inspiring yourself. I know it's a bit difficult. I'm a natural encourager. I'm a natural starter. So for me, I think it was easy for me
to be able. Let me answer this call and come back to you. Hello, good morning, Jamila. You're calling from Navrongo.
Yes.
Yes, Jamila, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Talk to us.
So I want to share agree with the counselor that you have to be careful what you say or what you put out there.
Speak up for us a bit, Jamila.
Pardon me?
Speak up a bit, please.
Okay. So I'm saying that I will agree with the counselor because a similar thing happened to me recently, most recently. My fiancé actually asked someone to bring me a birthday cake. And I didn't know the person was a spy on how I live or where I live and the things I have. So the guy who brought the cake came to look. I don't know what he saw, but I had a guest in my room who also brought me pizza for my birthday. And when he left, I don't know what information he went to feed to my fiancé, and it caused a whole lot of chaos. I didn't know the intention he had for coming. I was just trying to be nice, not knowing he came to actually feed. So I feel like I don't have to trust anybody anymore. I don't have to explain myself to anyone. I don't have to invite anyone to my home, or I feel like you just have to be careful, extremely careful what you put out there, who you invite into your life. That's right. What I have to say. So currently, I'm as single as possible because of that.
Sorry about that. But we hope you find the right man.
Yeah, I guess it was the right one.
All right, Jamila, thank you so much for calling and sharing your story with us. You can also call and share your story with us, or if you want to just give a contribution, why not? Go ahead and call and tell us your contribution, or you can send your messages to our WhatsApp line or leave it on our Facebook stream. Yes, Ms. Appiah.
Right. So once you realize the fact that this is where you are, start inspiring yourself. And I mentioned that I'm a natural encourager, so I was able to encourage myself through it. You need to invest in reading. Unfortunately, people from this side of the world don't like reading, and a lot of information and inspiration you can get from reading. Get the right books. People have gone through similar issues. Whatever problem you are going through in life, someone has gone through it before. And the good part is people write.
So get books.
Get books and read.
Let me go on the line and speak with Mr. Mahama. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Great.
How's Mr. Appiah? No.
How is what?
How's Mr. Appiah there?
Mr. Appiah is doing well.
I heard Mr. Appiah is saying so many things about divorce, about marriage, about school. Men should help their wives. It's good. We are trying. But I want Mr. Appiah to know, if they have to report at work at 7 o'clock, what time he can think that I should leave house. Because I heard them say that the woman will come house at 7 o'clock, the men expect them to put something on the table. I know 50 or 70% of women in this country are not working. They are depending on their husband. If they are working, what they earn is for them. They don't put it on the table, especially with the Muslims. We know that what we are doing, we are financing the house, paying bills. Because you said you don't want your wife to put money there. If really she wishes to do it, it's not a contract between you and your wife to put something on the table. You have to finance, paying fees, and if they help, we wish that if they can help, we thank them. But man, I want to go to work at 7 o'clock. Maybe my work is at Accra Central. I'm living around Kaswa. If I leave house around 6 o'clock, you expect me to wash things, to do this, to do this, to do that. At the end of the day, I came out around 6 o'clock. You expect me to cook and do this, to do this. I want you to advise me because I'm also a married man. I want you to advise me on this because of what he's saying. It's like I had this program on Muslim program today. The Amir is enjoyed. It's like you are pushing men to do what they can't do. The religion gives us a limit. The religion which says you should marry gives us a limit. If you are asking me to do this, I just want advice from Mr. Pierre. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mahama. Very grateful that you can share your opinion. You're home and you want to share your opinion, why not? Do call us and share your opinion as well. If you want to send in your message as well, definitely we will read it. There's a message that has also come in. Justina Nana Mensah says, I am Justina Nana Mensah. I must admit I'm very proud to have Mr. Daniel Appiah as a brother and a mate. I have learned a lot from the education he has given us this morning. All right. Thank you so much, Justina, for sending your message. You can also send in your messages or call us because we are here for you. Mr. Appiah, you were making a point. Unfortunately, I had a call, so it's...
Right, so I was on the point of reading books. Invest in reading. The interesting thing about reading is that you have a lot of me time.
Is it advisable to get a psychologist?
It depends on the level of emotional tremor or emotional pain or whatever you are going through, right? Whatever the psychologist is going to tell you, sometimes you can also achieve it yourself if you train yourself very well. Because, like I said, from my experiences, the internal bit, part of it, motivate myself, read, watch videos, listen to audio, content that will uplift my soul and spirit. Then the external bit, go out there and do things that will bring you fun so that you can shed off some of the pain and take your mind off all those drama and the happenings, right? For me, what I did was my initial year, I enrolled into University of Ghana Business School to undertake a master's program, Organizational Leadership and Governance. And most of my mates were astonished. I mean, some were surprised, when I tell them, oh, this is what I'm going through. Say, but you don't look it. You're so happy, vocal in class. For me, I talk. I'm still talking, right? I live and everything that I do, I'm talking. So every environment I find myself, I'm talking. I'm always in the forefront of leadership and things like that. So I told them, hey, apart from what I'm going through, I'm being my natural self. This is me, right? So try and do something to engage you. It can be sports, go and play golf, tennis, football, whatever it is. Do things. You can go into baking at home. During the coronavirus pandemic, right? There was a lot of lockdowns. People are sharing stories of what they did during that period because they were confined. So in the same way, if you are going through divorce or separation, whatever it is, do things to bring you fun.
What about prayers?
It's part of it.
What about dating?
Dating, if you have not overcome or you've not gone through that emotional pain, I wouldn't advise you to date, because dating will just be for the fun bit of it, And most of the time, you will not be using your mind. That will not be your mind. You are using your eyes. So if you are going through emotional pain and you try to put in that same thing that is killing you, if you are not careful, you repeat the same mistake. That's how come sometimes people just get married quickly, they start dating, and it will just break down.
It just breaks down. Let me go to Tamale and speak with Ibrahim. Good morning.
Yes, good boss.
How are you?
Good morning, please.
Bright. Okay, Bright, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well too.
Great. Let's hear from you.
Please, first of all, I want to thank you for bringing such an important program to your viewers and listeners. For me, if you were to ask me, I will suggest that we look more into the extrinsic factors. How does the society that we live in view someone who is divorced? It's like the individual, the divorcee, facing so very many people. If you are talking of the internal factors, like Mr. Pia saying, there can be a relapse. You are watching movies, you are reading the books, you are going to cinema or the gym. What happens when you come to the house again and then at the comfort of your home where there is no comfort? Maybe let's talk about someone who is married in an external family. How is the external family handling that particular person? Are they viewing someone who is divorced as a failure? So for me, my opinion would be that if we were to look at the broader picture, that we re-educate or we sensitize the entire community that we are in to understand that, yes, divorce is not anything that someone is wishing for, but it's bound to happen because people may rush into marriages, and such marriages are bound to fail. People look out for certain traits or character in people, and when they marry, then they don't find those particular character or traits anymore. Divorce are bound to happen. And so when certain things of that sort happen, the society must see this particular person as not a failure, but someone who is transitioning from one particular stage to another. And so we shouldn't just focus mainly on the intrinsic factor, because people can relapse, people can come out from it and then go back. And the other issue I want to talk about is...
Right. Oh. Anyway, Bright was making a point which was very, very true, right? Very, very true point he was making. But it's the aftermath is where the issue is, because you might find yourself in an uncomfortable position. You don't hope it will happen. It's happened. Life has happened. I'm moving on. You have given us some steps. You said dating, not now.
Well, like I said...
How long did it take you before you married?
So my issue happened 2016, and then I finally got married 2021.
Okay.
Yes.
It took a while.
Like, let's say 5 to 6 years.
So you healed well?
Yes.
Okay. Now you have books as well.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about your books that you have.
Right. So I recently launched these 3 books.
Okay.
The Light in the Dark.
The Light in the Dark?
Yes.
Okay.
We talks about how to utilize every moment of your life.
Okay.
Every moment. We can go through bad challenges, we go through issues. All these are part of the process. And then we have the 5 Ds of talent.
5 Ds, okay.
How to discover your talent, develop them, deliver, be disciplined, and then also to dominate with your talent.
And it will all help you recover during divorce?
Every single bit of it.
Okay. And the side chick?
Right, so it's the side check.
Why the side check?
So it's a side check.
Okay, it's a check, not a chick. But I see a lipstick.
Yes, yes. It's just for promotional purposes.
Okay.
So this will also guide you on how to generate extra income. So it's like a whole life cycle, right?
Okay.
Whilst you go through issues, identify your talent, and then use it. Every single person that is born of a woman, and if you're an adult and your phone number starts with 0, then you have a talent.
Mr. Appiah, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story with us. We know that you've actually motivated a lot of young ones out there, not even the young ones, but let's talk about those who are going through a divorce and are struggling. Thank you so much for being here today. We are super grateful. So the books are out there.
Yes.
How can they get it?
Right. So you can check with booknook.store.
Okay.
And then on Amazon, they are available. And then I'm also giving personal autograph copies.
Okay.
So if you go on my social media handles, Dream Focus International.
Okay.
On all the social media handles.
Right.
Drop me a private message and then we'll talk.
Mr. Daniel Appiah is the CEO of Dream Focus International, and also he's a motivational speaker. He actually went through a divorce. He's no more a divorcee, so I can't say he's a divorcee because he's now married, happily married. But he shared his side of divorce with us this morning, told us the angle from the men's perspective for us to understand what men go through. Now, we always say that men often receive their first flowers during their funerals, but this time around, we are giving them the voice to speak. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us.